What's up guys? In today's video we are doing a full transformation restore on a budget on this 1988 Eliminator. Let's go. Like always, if you are getting any value out of today's video, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell notification so every time we make a video it will pop up. And like always, all of the products that we use in today's video will be in the description section down below. If you click those links and purchase those products, it funds these videos, so we appreciate you guys for that. Okay, today's boat is an absolute process. We are finished. It is day 2.5, but I could have gotten this done probably in a day and a half if I would have known what I was doing. So we're gonna go over that in today's video. This boat was an absolute doozy for me. We did a test spot. It did not come out very well. So I kind of told the customer, look, man, I can kind of buff it and we'll make it shine. And he was like, cool. Well, when we got here, the plans changed and the boat came out absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to show you guys the before and afters at the end of today's process. We had to do some wet sanding. We had to go up 2000 grit sandpaper, which we never really do here. And I'm learning a lot about clear coat and stuff, and I'm gonna touch on that in today's video. So this boat was super cool. Shout out to Eliminator. Whatever y'all did in 1988 still works because this boat restored up really nice. It's not perfect. It has character, it has flaws, but it looks 1,000 times better than it did. The boat was great. The customer was amazing. Thank you for letting me work on your boat. It was absolutely a pleasure just working with you, getting to test some things out on this boat, and being so pumped to make this video. So guys, stick around. I'm gonna do a full tutorial over all the sanding, all the buffing, and all the process on this boat. It was a super fun project and I'm super happy with it. Let's get in today's video. Let's go. Okay, so the very first thing that I learned right away was that the red on this boat is actually clear coated and the white on this boat is only gel coat. So when I came out and did my test spot a couple days ago, it looked great when I buffed it, but when I wiped it away, there was still some hazing. And the fiberglass is incredibly thin on this boat. Like, you could see the fibers in the actual gel coat when I first got here. I did my normal cutting steps and I didn't want to sand because I didn't want to sand away all the gel coat or clear coat. So what I did was I got on the phone and I actually called Eliminator, and shout out to Eliminator. They were amazing. They got me an answer within like 30 seconds, the receptionist. I called them and I was like, hey man, I'm having some trouble on the paint. What's going on? And they told me that the red is actually clear coated. So what that told me was that the clear coat was really, really thin. And now we're working with clear coat and gel coat. Now, I don't have a ton of experience on clear coated boats or wakeboarding boats, okay? I mean, I'm used to doing yachts and my Florida gel coated boats, so this is kind of new for me. So I'm like, okay, now it's a challenge, and now I have to wet sand, potentially clear coat. All right, so that is enough of me talking. We're gonna just go into today's video. Like I said, it took me 2.5 days, but I could have finished this in about a day and a half if I wouldn't have and now that I know what I know, because I learned a ton on this boat. The customer was absolutely amazing, and two, something just clicked where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just pretend that this boat is my boat and I'm just gonna do what I would do. So, you don't have to go too crazy because you don't wanna be out there all week breaking your back, and you don't have a ton of money to pour into it because you just wanna get out on the water. So what we agreed on was like, look, let's get it the best that we can on a budget. And that's what we did, and the results were absolutely amazing. So let's go ahead and hop into this project. First, we're gonna go ahead and start with a wash and go from there. Let's go. I'll see you at the end. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is start off with a detailed wash, and we're gonna be using Shine Supply Smooth Move. Shine Supply Smooth Move is a decontamination spray. So it got off the scum line on the bottom. There's a bunch of algae and stuff all on the bottom. It got all of that off. And it also got off all of the contaminants on the actual paint and gel coat. This boat was really, really dirty, and it probably hasn't been detailed in a few years. And I know the customer told me that it had been sitting. So there was just a lot of contaminants on the paint, on the gel coat. And what Smooth Move did, and it literally just demolished all the contaminants and left the surface actually shiny and smoother. I was actually really, really impressed. I did use quite a bit. I used about half a gallon on the bottom just because it was so nasty, and the boat was left in the water, so that's why the water was so nasty on the outside. But we started with Smooth Move to get all the contaminants off of the gel coat. After we did that, we just rinsed it down and we're gonna hop straight to our wet sanding. We did 1000 grit wet sand on the back here, and then we followed it up with 2000 grit by hand. And the only reason why I did it by hand was because I actually didn't have 2000 grit in my truck. I had to go to O'Reilly's and get some 2000 grit and put it on a sanding block and do it all by hand. But we did 1000 grit and 2000 grit by hand. If you are gonna do this kind of project, I would recommend you get Merca Abra Lawn 1000 and 2000 to do this project. That's gonna be your best sandpaper. It's Merca Abra Lawn, and I will have it in the description down below. But you can also do it by hand, run the O'Reilly's, get you some 1, 2, and maybe even 3000 grit sandpaper and go to town. The reason why we had to go up to 2000 grit is because it is clear coat. So clear coat is not going to take the scratches like gel coat would. So clear coat's a little more finicky, so you want to sand up. 2000 grit's good, but sometimes you even want to go up to 3000 grit on clear coat just to make your buffing process easier. But I'm fairly confident at buffing, so I stopped at 2. If you are trying to do this project on your own boat, or if you're a new detailer, maybe do 1000 grit, 2000 grit, and 3000 grit, and then do all of your buffing steps. So as you can see, we're just going to wrap up our sanding, and then we're going to move to our compounding steps to remove all of the sanding marks. But for the most part, this got off all the dead gel coat, all the oxidation, and the boat is turning out great. All right, guys, so here's our boat. As you can see right here, the gel coat is really, really thin on here. I don't know if you can see the white. There we go. Now you can really see it. You can almost see the pattern in the actual fiberglass. You know, you can see it real bad right here. So we're working with extremely thin gel coat. And you know, one of the problems with this is there's nothing much that we can really do about this. Okay, did already do our 1000 grit sand, so as you can see, it's real smooth, but we can still see this pattern. Now when we do our heavy cut and everything like that, it's going to look absolutely insane beautiful. But for the most part, some of this hazing will will be there, because there's nothing we can do about that unless you were to re-clear coat the boat or get it repainted completely. It's officially time for step 1 in our cutting process. We're gonna start here with the rotary buffer. We're gonna do our side to side, up, down, side to side motion all the way down the boat. So every single section, do it about 2 foot, you know, a little bit longer than shoulder width apart. Really want to do heavy pressure. And on the clear coat, I was running it around 1000 RPM. So I was typically running it a little slower. The slower you run the heavy cut, the more of a cutting process that you're going to have, because the heavy cut is not a diminishing abrasive. So it's a true cutting compound. So as long as you're pushing and as long as that buffer is running, this compound is going to cut. So it cut plenty good to get all the sanding marks out and all of the oxidation. Go ahead, do your first cut with Shine Supply Heavy Cut on the 1.25 pile height cutting wool pad and finish up the entire boat. One reason why I really like this heavy cut, it is an extremely aggressive compound that is going to remove those sanding marks with ease. Now, you really don't have to put a ton of pressure and you don't have to use a ton of speed. So I'm pushing on it enough to dig and enough to keep the buffer on the surface, but I'm not pushing so much where I'm trying to like grind away the paint and the gel coat. You don't really have to push incredibly hard. And if you keep your buffer around that 1000 RPM range, it's going to be the perfect range for giving you a nice consistent cut with this first step. All of the cutting right here is going to be removing your oxidation and all of your sanding marks, and it's going to prep us for the next polishing step. This boat was a little tricky because we had to get around all the windows and all the edges. Feel free to tape those off with tape. I don't really use tape just because I'm pretty good about getting around them. And if I do get compound in there, all you need to do is just take a little Dawn dishwashing soap at the end with a little scrub brush and scrub out any of the plastics, or a pressure washer will usually get the trick. Use your heavy cut, get around all the knobs, all the edges as much as you possibly can. And while we're talking about this, let's go ahead and talk about the double-sided wool pad. The double-sided wool pad came in absolutely amazing on this boat because I was able to use the front side and the back side of the pad at times. So if you're thinking about using a single side versus a double side, I always recommend use a double side no matter what, because it will come in handy and you kind of get 2 pads in one. If you don't have the double side adapter, then just get single side pads. They will work just fine. Cutting step number 2, we're gonna use the yellow wool pad on the rotary while using chop top, and we're gonna keep that running around between 1200 and 1500 RPMs. This wool pad is going to pull out all of the crazy marring that the heavy cut puts in the boat. So that heavy cut, that Shine Supply heavy cut, will remove the oxidation, and it's going to remove the sanding marks, but it will leave the boat super swirled up. And that's why we have our correction process where we follow behind in steps. So the first step is going to be your heavy cut on the white wool. Now we're going to do the chop top on the yellow wool, and this is going to be like you are turning the lights on. It's going to make the gloss absolutely pop, and it's going to leave the surface dang near swirl free so that your polishing process is extremely easy, where anyone can do it. So if you're a boat owner or a professional, you can then polish out with a DA or a force rotation polisher, whichever one you have. So make sure on this second step, when you do the white and the heavy cut, you're going to be running it real deep and slow, and then on the yellow wool, you're going to be running it a little faster, and you're also going to use less compound as well. So if you're interested and you want to know, you're typically going to use about double the amount of heavy cut than you would the chop top. So if you are doing your own boat and say you got a 22 footer, just buy 1 32 ounce of heavy cut and then 1 32 ounce of chop top, and you're only going to use about a half a bottle of chop top because you really don't even use all that much. This compound is absolutely amazing at cutting out those heavy scratches from the heavy cut, but leaving you an absolutely perfect, flawless finish every time. Chop top is absolutely amazing of a compound. All right, so after we're done with that, we're just gonna go ahead and give our boat a wash because we're technically done with the compounding phase. So all I did was take a little bit of Dawn dish soap, went ahead and wiped the boat down, got it nice and clean. This is gonna remove off any oils, any residues from the compounds so that we can start our cleaning and prepping process for our protection. So just take a little Dawn dish soap, go ahead, wash the boat down real nice. In this process, you also want to get the trailer cleaned. We are going to do a little bit of work on the tires, get the tires cleaned up with some super clean. Take a little Max Shine brush to get in there real nice, some tire brushes. You really want to make sure their driveway is nice and clean, their trailer's nice and clean, and you get the wheels and tires looking nice so that the boat looks presentable when you're done. All right, so that is it for the washing. Now we're gonna hop on the inside of the boat, get the inside all cleaned up, because when you're doing your detail, you're gonna get compound everywhere. So we do the inside of the boat after we do our compounding. As you can see here, we just have a little super clean magic eraser in the Max Shine brush, and we're deep cleaning these seat cushions. They were in really good shape for the most part, but they did need a little bit of love. So that's why we went ahead and cleaned them with the super clean. After you're done with the super clean, you always want to rewash them with some type of boat soap or Dawn dish soap to get off any of the residues from the super clean. Because if you leave just the super clean on the surface, it can damage the seats. Another thing on these types of boats, you really don't want to use a ton of water on the inside. There wasn't a lot of drain holes on the inside, so I used my water very, very, very conservatively on the inside, and all the water that I did use on the inside, I was made sure to suck it out with my shop vac when I was finished. On this back seat here, I did not use any super clean. Anytime you did a lot of buffing and compounding, you do not want to put super clean on after, because super clean is really, really heavy of a degreaser, and it can scar and stain the paint and the gel coat. So you really don't want to use this. So on that back seat, I was very careful, and I just used little Dawn with some magic erasers to get those seats clean. On the inside here, we just used a little bit of cleaner, got the seats nice and clean. We used a little bit of Aftermath to kind of get some of the salt off, some of the water spots off on the inside here. We used a little bit of Dawn just to kind of clean up the seat cushions and vacuum out. We did a really just quick detail on the interior of this boat. Okay, so once we were done with all the cleaning and the vacuuming, we did our Sunsetter seat vinyl cushion protectant. This is a great protectant that's going to leave the seats nice and hydrated, and it actually leaves it softer to the touch, but it doesn't leave it greasy and slick off and like some of the cheaper brands out there. This is a really, really good vinyl seat protectant for your boats. After that, we're just using a little bit of that aftermath to kind of clean up the dash, and we also used Punch It on the red dash here. So we use aftermath to kind of clean off any watermarks or anything like that that might have been on the boat before we do all of our polishing steps. So as you can see here on the outside, as soon as we were done on the inside, we just took a little bit of aftermath, wiped down the boat, make sure there was no watermarks so that we could get ready for our polishing and our protection steps. Okay, so now we're gonna hop into our polishing step. Now this is a little different than I normally do. I'm actually using Shine Supply Burnout. Burnout is a really cool product, okay? And it's I've used it just a few times, and it was the first time that I used it very successfully on this boat, and I was really blown away with it. Burnout is a finishing compound with SiO2 jammed in it, so it can act as your finishing polishing step, which was more than enough to get the holograms and stuff from the yellow pad and the chop top. And I was using it on the Millie with the orange Lake Country pad. But if you only have a DA like the Max Shine M8S V2 that we really love here with the white Lake Country pad, this product would work just as good. You do not need the forced rotation. The reason why I use the forced rotation though is because I wanted that extra punch in the polishing to really pull out some of those heavier swirls and stuff, and to really pull out the gloss. The Shine Supply Burnout did an absolutely amazing job of just making the paint pop. I mean, the gloss was literally unreal when I was done. It got all the holograms out, all the swirls out, and it left an absolutely perfect finish. And the cool thing about this product is it has an SiO2 in it, which will actually work as a bonding agent for any type of your protection. So you can use this product and go straight to a wax, a spray SiO2, or a ceramic coating. And that's what we did in this case. So it really cleaned up the surface. It hydrated that gel coat. It made the paint look absolutely unreal, and it left our surface absolutely perfect for the ceramic coating process. So we are officially done with all of the polishing and all of the cleaning on the interior, and now it is time for our protective layer. The really cool thing about the Burnout, it is an SiO2 which can be built upon. So that's why you can use it as your polish and then go straight to your ceramic coatings, or you can go straight to an SiO2 spray like the Punch It. If you buy our maintenance kit that has the Punch It, that will give you about, maybe about a month or so of protection. Or you can do a sealant like the Daddy-O paint sealant. That'll give you about 4 months of protection on and off, depending on where it's stored and how it's maintained. And then, or you could do your ceramic coating, and the ceramic coating is gonna give you about 12 months plus of protection depending on how it's maintained and stored. So that's kind of your 3 layers. You can now do the Punch It, just spray it on and wipe it off, which we will do at the end. That'll give you about a month. You could do the Daddy-O sealant, which will give you about 4 months, or you could do the coating, that'll give you about 12 months. For this customer, we're gonna go all out. We're gonna do the coating. The first thing we're gonna do is get the front squared away. We're gonna apply it by hand, just real smooth, buff it off. And if you're gonna do your whole boat, that's how you do the entire boat. After we do that, we're gonna hop to the coating. Let's go. All right, ceramic coating process is pretty simple. We're gonna apply it by hand with our microfiber applicator pad. We let it sit for about 30 seconds to about a minute, and then we leveled it off with 3 microfiber rags, okay? If you buy the kit, the Beadlock Pro, it comes with the applicator pad that you need in the actual package. So all you need is just a couple drops. You're gonna apply it real smooth, about 2-foot sections at a time. Let it sit, and then go ahead and wipe it off with your microfiber rags. It is a very simple, easy process, and it's gonna give you an absolute easy 12 months of protection or more. And the big reason why I did the ceramic coating on this boat is because I did so much compounding to really get that gloss looking well, and that ceramic coating actually kind of sucked into the clear coat a little bit, and it actually helped kind of smooth out some of those highs and lows. Now, because of how thin the gel coat was, I can't say that this ceramic coating is going to last forever, and I was very upfront with the customer, and I told him that. But it was the absolute best protection for this boat, so that's why we went the ceramic coating process. If you don't want to do ceramic coating, it's just fine. Do a sealant, apply it by hand, let it sit 15 minutes, and wipe it off, and it'll do the exact same thing, and you'll get about 6 months of protection. We're gonna hop to Punch It. It's an SiO2 top coat that's gonna make the boat easier to keep clean. It's gonna make it really shiny. It's gonna make your boat smell amazing too, and it's gonna keep your boat looking better longer. Go ahead and check out the before and after videos. Let's go. All right, that is it for today's video. Guys, it was a process doing this boat. Super fun boat. Like I said in my intro 1,000 times, this boat was crazy awesome. We are in Redding, California. If you want to bring your boat to us, we will make arrangements. If you ever want detailing, you can look us up on Drake's Detailing on YouTube, sundialshine.com, detail you. Either way, just find us, reach out to us somehow. We'll get back to you if you want to ever get your boat detailed. Got any value out of today's video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell notification, so every time we make videos, it will pop up, and I'll see you guys on our next video. Let's go.